Okay, we're live. Welcome to the CHRILLCAST. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Will. Welcome.
And we're about to talk about the Game of Thrones episodes that have dropped in the past 2
House
weeks.
of the Dragon.
Exactly. So, Will, what are your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts is, let's just go off the first episode. The first episode is better than the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones combined, in my opinion.
Combined?
Yes. Just like the overall lore building, the anticipation for the character arcs, the acting, the fact that these people are clearly actually talking to George R.R. Martin, and George R.R. Martin has made a big deal about he's actually involved in the show. Instead of finishing his series, he's helping on the show.
He decided to help with it, whereas he was kind of a little bit like, it kind of sounded and felt like he got distanced from the last couple seasons of the original Game of Thrones series. So, yeah, I mean, to add to that, I think the casting has been really well done.
Yes.
I think, like, each character, the actor feels right for the vibe, for the personality traits. So it's like, they did a really good job. Also, I think maybe this is just, you said the acting is better. I think that might just be a case of the actors actually loving the script.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know the last season, none of the actors really liked it.
No.
It sounded like, and then they're forced to defend it. Yeah. They're forced to defend it in interviews, and like every single actor's like super salty vibe in it. Like, it's like, oh, yeah. You can tell in the acting that they're just like, I'm forced to do this, like Jon Snow and his honor. So, right? Like, there's no way he's going back to the North after escaping the North.
Yeah, and there's nothing to do in the North anymore. Like,
exactly. The whole enemy is gone with the White Walkers and that. So it's like, the whole script was bad. You could tell it was bad. But in this new one, you can tell they like it. They can see promise. They're all excited for it. So, but yeah, I really like the way too that they did King's Landing. I've heard some people be like, why is it more advanced seeming? Why is King's Landing like better looking? It's like,
because it's at the height of the power, but also this is more book accurate.
Right. But also, like, the big thing is, you gotta remember that this is before the sacking of King's Landing that led to Robert Baratheon. This is when the
lot of sackings.
yeah, that too. And then there's just like the actual dragon dome. Is it the dome, or I forget what it was called? Basically, the house of those dragons. The dragon pit. Yeah. The dragon pit exists still as a huge dominating presence in that city. So it's just like altogether impressive. And then I feel like it's been really cool how they've introduced the dragons so far. It's been pretty nice for the Targaryens to have that.
Yeah, they look a lot better. The CGI is better. Just overall, everything looks better, and also more what I had envisioned from the books. Like, I realized, like, the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, it was pretty close, but like even just the tourney seemed so much better in this version than what we saw in Game of Thrones.
The riding of the dragons seems much more natural. I don't know if it's an intentional thing that they made Daenerys seem a little incompetent with it in the previous one, because it's like a lost art.
Yeah.
But like, you can tell that the CGI at least has improved to make the dragon riding seem like these are actually skilled dragon riders from the Targaryen line. And then, so what do you think of the two rival Targaryen houses at this point?
I think that their motivations are becoming clearer, and I think that they both. It's interesting. So there's so many people who actually have like sort of a claim on the throne. So you can see where they're seeing their moment, and it really is building up to a fever pitch for all these people, because the king right now. Well, I mean, you can start off with how like.
He's frail. Let's just say he's frail.
He's frail. The throne is killing him. It's very obvious that's what's happening, because like the whole mythos is like, if you're not meant to sit on the throne will start cutting you. And he's clearly rotting from the inside, which is very interesting. But then there's all these other factions that, like, through marriage or like the one queen, or maybe it was princess. I can't remember in the original.
She's a princess who never was queen, basically.
Yes.
The queen who never was.
Queen never was. So like her line shoots off, so you have this entire like side faction. Then you have the High Towers that are trying to marry in.
That side faction though was also a Targaryen, not Targaryen, but the other Valerian.
Yes.
Lines. So there was the two Valerian lines, and they're just talking about how their blood is like the purest shit on the planet. And
yeah, well, that's every household. They're always like, my blood is so pure. It's like the Starks are like, we have the blood of the first men. So whatever.
Well, and that's the line too. You gotta remember that's the one that the Baratheons are tied to.
Yep.
Because that's what in the tourney calls her cousin. So they're really in basically weaving that web of where you see where the politics are going towards what led to the Baratheons being in charge when we start with the original Song and Fire.
That's why they still have the blood of the kings. So that's why
it's the only reason they could sit on the throne, basically.
They can sit on the throne, yeah. And also the fact that that one lady, I can't remember her name now, that does like the blood magic, she can still do it with the Baratheon blood.
Right. Because they still have that old Valerian legacy. But what do you think of the brother, Daemon?
Daemon's awesome.
Yes. I think he's honestly the best casted character in the entire series.
I think that actor looks super weird, but he is phenomenal in everything he does.
He's weird looking, but I feel like it works for a Targaryen.
Yeah.
I don't know
I would agree. Like when I first saw it, like
especially in his character type.
Yeah, when I first saw it, like set photo, like his eyes look a little sunken. The blonde hair looks like threw me off because I'm used to it. He was in Doctor Who, right? With like a darker hair.
Yeah.
So I was imagining that, and then like I've always seen the actor like that, so it looks a little bit strange, but he's phenomenal. Like he pulls off.
He really does the sadistic very well.
But he's also not just sadistic though. He's also really like charming and kind. Right. So you see like moments of that.
And I don't even know if I would say he's sadistic. I guess that's me being like a little cruel to his character, right? Yeah. He's firm. He's kind of a Stannis Baratheon, but like with flair. Right? Like if Stannis was a confident guy who wasn't just a stick in the mud, it's basically what he would be. A fun Stannis, because he's going to go out there. I mean, just look at how they opened up the first episode with him in his gold cloaks, which it's a nice twist. That's a nice. I haven't read the history book thing, so I wasn't aware that he is exactly. You got it over here. That he's the one who made the gold cloaks. I have to be like
Chris, like look what I got.
Yeah. But that was just like a really, I don't know. I feel like that was a really good mood setting scene. The way they did the whole gold cloaks, just we're introducing them to the city and we chose violence. It's just like we chose violence. That's
and I feel like the gold cloaks are like don't suck now.
Right. There's like
whereas like in the books they were more serious, but in the show they just kind of like they're stupid.
In the books they're serious up until the Lannisters. Right? Because the Lannisters degrade the gold cloaks specifically to undermine Robert.
Yep.
And then he's reliant on Lannister soldiers for everything. And then they're kind of worthless, and it becomes a position for like losers who did something to get favored, not based on their skill with training soldiers or anything.
Yep.
And then they just become like a petty rabble themselves. But in this, totally they're just they're totally ruthless in this one. Like he used it as an opportunity to make his own little army. So it's a fun dynamic that is currently there. And then I don't know. Do you think that alliance is that he's forming with the other Valerian? I forget what.
I think it's gonna crumble. Yeah,
it's got to crumble because he's too arrogant to not look down on him, and the one guy just wants to be viewed as an equal.
Yep, and the Targaryens can't do it. So
no, it's impossible.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Like the Targaryens were not the highest of the Valerians, right? Or not Valerians, but Valerians.
You're talking about in Valeria?
Yeah.
I don't believe they were.
So
they just are a dragon group, one of the dragon riding.
Yeah, and the only reason why they survived the calamity is just because of Aegon had the dream about the Song of Ice and Fire. So he like hightailed it out of there right before everything exploded. Right. But then, so it's obviously the Valerians, but wasn't there another house that came with them? Or am I completely misremembering this?
I don't remember, but there's clearly the one guy household who has all the ships. So they're the only dragon house.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Because he brings like a cousin or something who's like technically married from another house. I don't know. I can't quite remember. Yeah. Doesn't really matter. But I do have some questions. So, does this story actually matter? Do we give a shit because the Game of Thrones show sucked? At least the ending did.
Okay. I think this story matters because even more because the other one sucked. Okay. The show matters because it's to give faith in the universe again. The universe of A Song in Fire and Ice. It's like it just left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth how the original series ended, that short of getting a book that changes that outcome, the series is the best we're going to get.
And do you think it's possible if this does well, they'll just continue through and fix the Game of Thrones show? Because they cut out so much, they could just redo it more based on the book and be completely different.
That's a great question, actually. How much of a money grab do they want?
All of it.
Because if they really milk this history, right, they just keep going with it, I guess you could have enough time pass that the new one it's worth to remake the original. Just because of CGI advancement and stuff. It's like, what's the customary time frame before they do a remake? That's the question mark.
Seems like lately a year. What is The Last of Us? How many years is that?
I don't know. But okay. But like, it's tricky, right? Because could you ever really cast the same? I don't think you could get the same level of casting because Kit Harington is really good as Jon Snow.
But the rest of them, all right, the Lannisters, I think, were all perfectly casted. But the rest
Lannisters
of them
were way too perfectly casted. I don't think you could redo them.
Maybe.
Robert Baratheon's perfectly casted.
Ned Stark there's lots of drunk idiots out there, right?
That's fair. Ned Stark was casted too perfectly.
Yes, that's fair.
No one dies as gloriously as him. So.
What is that? What is the actor? Sean Bean. He dies in everything. He's perfected it.
Yes, he's just too damn good, and he's also, he's just the perfect actor for that like historical setting of swords and daggers. Like, let's be honest. But yeah, no, like, what do you think of the daughter dynamic right now?
Oh, so
princess.
I'm going to forget their names, so it's like.
Still learning the names. The princess was
Rhaenyra, and then
Rhaenyra.
Her friend is
Alicent or whatever. Yeah.
Alicent. All right.
I don't.
So what's interesting about the show is the dynamic between those two is a little bit different than the book. So in the book, I believe they're about 9 or 10 years apart from each other.
Okay.
So it's less of like best friend dynamic. It's just, but like it's still.
She's more of like a babysitter type.
Yeah. More like that. And also like something for Rhaenyra to look up to and kind of idolize almost, and then like feel very betrayed in that respect. Whereas this is like your best friends betraying you. So it's the same idea, but it's going to be much more personal.
Mm-hmm. In the book, is the daughter from the other Valerian house still like 12?
Yeah, very young. If I remember.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same idea. Like the king is this like, yeah, this politically makes sense, but as a little kid and I'm not a rapist.
Right.
Because at this point, honestly, most of the Targaryens have been, besides like one Maegor, the Cruel, I think is before this timeline. Most of them have been actually pretty like upstanding people, so they would not have done something like that. And they haven't gone mad yet, so they haven't started inbreeding. Whereas I think, like, at least not to the point that, like the Lannisters are like, this is okay.
The Lannisters are a special case. Let's be honest.
Well, when Daenerys finds out that she's the Jon Snow's aunt, like from her perspective, like this is totally fine.
Right. That's true. That's true. But at that point, they're desperate to keep the blood of the dragon concept still going.
Mm-hmm.
But
they become obsessed with that prophecy. So it makes that is part of the reason why they go mad is because of that prophecy.
Right. And then when you look at it too, I think that really puts a cherry on top for how power hungry the one Valerian is.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? I'm blanking on it. But is it actually Valerian?
Valerian, yeah, we keep saying
Valerian. Yeah, his name's Valerian, and he is power hungry as shit, and he just really wants to have that Iron Throne connection, which he almost had until his wife was passed up for it, and then
now his daughter was too.
And he has all the ships apparently. So
it's a similar dynamic to the Lannisters and the Targaryens. So,
I guess the question is, what happens? Do you know what happens to that family line in the book? Then
they die out.
They all die out.
Yeah, as far as I remember, they all die out because just not the Lannisters. I don't know why I keep bringing it up. It's just the Targaryens, and then there's obviously bastard children in a lot of the other houses.
Right.
So they're all connected to Targaryens by the end, but there's only one true Valyrian house left, and that's the Targaryens.
Right. Because there's also the house of what other one was it? There's that other house that they talked about in. I guess it's the one where the bastard child.
Baratheons?
No. There's the Targaryen one that disappeared. That's where young what's his name? They're claiming he comes from. Yeah, young Griff. Because he comes from another line.
That comes after this. So that's it's the Blackfires. So
the Blackfire. That's the Blackfire group. That's what I was.
Yeah. So that should come up in this series. How that split happens.
So is that who the one house is supposed to be?
Yeah. So I forgot about them completely. My bad.
Yeah.
So there is another house that splits off from the main trunk, and they live in Essos.
Okay.
They're never talked about in the show, so that's
right. The question they might be talked about in this one at some point, right?
Oh yeah, for sure they have to. So this is
they have to establish it in this.
Yeah, they're going to build up to the Dance of the Dragons, and that's going to be the whole plot of this show. And then, after the Dance of the Dragons, that's when you have that house split, I believe. And then there's also a couple of rebellions later. So there's several Blackfire rebellions, but that's where Dark Sister goes. And I believe we've seen Dark Sister, the sword. I think
they talk. Well, Daemon has Dark Sister.
Daemon has it. Yeah, exactly. So that's where that sword goes. Dark Sister goes with the Blackfires. And do you remember in the book if the kid that's on the ship with Tyrion right now, does he have that sword?
I don't believe that they had the sword. I could be wrong though.
Oh, also, so they kind of do weave that family back into the show because at the very end, there's nothing. They do nothing in the show, which is so frustrating. But they have the it's that army that Cersei Lannister buys. That's supposed to have elephants and everything, but you see nothing.
Right, the Gold Company or whatever.
Gold Company. That's
full of
part of the Blackfires.
That's full of old Blackfires and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're actually coming to fight for young Griff.
Yeah. So in the show, it makes no sense, and it's they completely wasted the opportunity there.
Right. Let's just say that the last 3 seasons of the original series are trash, and this one is already better than it.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, it's not Game of Thrones without bringing in the brothel. So.
Exactly. Though it does seem to be less nudity, and the showrunners have actually made a point to say that they're not going to have the crazy sex position that the original show had.
It still had quite a bit in the first episode, I would say.
Yeah, but it's HBO. So I feel like that's a stipulation. Yeah. If you make an HBO show, you have to have a lot of sex in the first episode.
Fair enough. I mean, it was only 2 scenes. 2 major scenes took place there. There's the Yeah, there's at least 2 that I can think of. So they have him there when he's anticipating the child being born, and then they have him after the fact. So it's, I mean, I think it actually builds the character that is Daemon. So
yes.
Especially since that's how he rewarded his gold cloaks. So and then the whole atmosphere there, it was a fun scene. I'll say that much. It was kind of fun. But then also
Oh no. Well, Andrew. Oh, he's
no,
back
already. It starts the whole conflict with the king, right? So
yeah. Speaking of that, they showed Daemon sitting on the Iron Throne, which is a big no-no.
Right. But he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And then
speaking of the Iron Throne, how do you feel about the design?
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. I think it's better than in the original series because they make it more epic. But
yes.
What did you think of the melee?
It's very visceral. There's lots of blood.
Yes. Did you? I thought it was fun to be able to see all of the house sigils and stuff. I'm pretty sure there was someone with a Stark one that got their face smashed in.
I did not.
I swear I saw one.
I didn't see it, but that's not to say it didn't happen.
Right.
I don't know. I honestly don't know what the Starks are doing during this time, so I don't know how they're going to weave them in, if they are.
Right.
That's actually another thing. So how do you feel about them focusing so heavy on one house? Well, kind of 2 houses.
It's basically one house. It's Valerians.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the first 2 episodes, right? There's going to be
the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
It's the House of the Dragon, right?
There, yes.
The first 2 episodes of the original one really only focused on 3 houses tops.
Yeah, but they
can't really count
a lot of locations.
You can't really count the Baratheons though, because the Baratheons and the Lannisters are basically one house in the first couple episodes anyway, right? So it only really focuses on the 2 houses. Very similar to how you're getting a focus on technically 3 in a sense, 3 factions currently.
Oh, well, they're building the factions, which is cool to see.
They're building the factions. Because, yeah, I mean, you have a lot of focus on the Hightower family. You have a lot of focus on the, I'm blanking on the sea serpent guy, sea snake guy. That's the Valerian guy. I forget what his house is called, though.
His house is called
Valerian. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
You made me second guess that for a second.
I was doubting it too because I keep forgetting his name. He's just he's a dominating character, but I can't remember his name to save my life. And then you have Daemon with his group, and then the king. And it's they're kind of separating it out, right? Whoever's in King's Landing is isolated, and then whoever they brought Dragonstone back to make it which it seemed more epic.
Yes,
everything definitely seems way more epic.
Much closer to the book again, because I believe that's supposed to be volcanic islands. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
In the books, and that's actually segues into another thing. It's they mentioned that the dragon riders would be closest to the volcanoes because that's where the magic was. So I believe that obviously there's Dragonstone, but I believe the Valerians also are their house is right on the volcanic island as well. So does that mean those 2 houses, those 2 locations have more magic than King's Landing, and that's why that everyone who sits on the Iron Throne kind of degrades over time?
I don't know. It's maybe it is. They're just so isolated from what made them. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's gonna be interesting because here's the one thing. It probably explains why the dragons kept getting smaller.
Yep. That would make total sense.
They don't have that energy from the volcano that causes them to stay however they stay. But they, what did you think of the conflict over the dragon egg?
So that was interesting. I don't know what his motivation is yet, other than just seeing who would actually answer that call.
Right. Like he's trying to gauge his own importance to the family, kind of.
Yeah, that, and also who would challenge that, like him trying to claim the Iron Throne? It ends up being his niece, which is interesting. So it's like maybe those are going to be the two main people fighting for it, and that's supposed to be a foreshadowing. Whereas like the king didn't come,
well, he sent his hand, who I was expecting to get toasted. So
yeah.
If she didn't show up, they were dead.
Yeah.
If we're completely honest, that's how they set that scene up.
But they also show that he just is willing to put her, like his relationship with her, over his ambitions right now, where he kind of just gives up the egg, like no problem.
His quarrel is clearly with his brother.
Yes.
But not even necessarily with his brother. It's with his brother's relationship to the council. Not really his brother. He doesn't want to harm his brother, it sounds like. But he can't stand the way he's been like supplanted by the council.
Yep. Yeah, well, like, yeah. Go on.
He was entrapped. He was entrapped into getting kicked out of the air. Like, I don't know. All right, they keep talking. From what you've seen of his character so far, do you really buy he would be a terrible ruler mantra that they're passing? Because I don't believe it.
So I saw a rumor, or like people are already starting to theorize, and it's been a while since I've read the book, so I don't know if this is actually explained in the book. It's less of a theory and more like actually written down. But there's a theory that there's actually like a scheme by the Maesters to remove all dragon riders as rulers. So that's why they're saying like he cannot be the king, simply because he is a dragon rider. Why Rhaenyra should not be the queen, because she's a dragon rider. And that's why they're going with the High Towers. They want that, or the Valerians could. That would also work.
Why? What's the reasoning behind wanting the dragon riders away from the?
They're trying to kill magic.
Okay.
Or at the very least, they're killing like the newish magic, and they're going with the old magic. I don't think the Maesters like magic at all, though. So I think that actually is something that they do mention in the proper books, that they don't like magic. Right,
because they can't understand it, really.
Yeah.
They can't explain it. So what was I going to say? Do they introduce, what is it called? Grayscale in this, do you think?
Yep.
Because they tie that to
explain what the hell it is. And
do they explain it?
I think they would. I think they might. I think that is something that was never really touched on, and every time they showed it in the actual show.
Is it explained in that book or no?
No, there's a lot of stuff.
They always say it's tied to the old Valeria and the magic and the disaster that occurred.
They don't explain it, but they could take the liberties to actually show like at least the origin point, maybe not explain exactly what it is. But I think it's going to play a part. I think the White Walkers will play a part too, because they've already mentioned them.
Right. I thought that was a nice twist that I wasn't expecting, since I didn't read that one book. So the fact that the Targaryens are so focused on the Song of Fire and Ice basically as a prophecy, it's like,
what's funny is that's literally why they're there.
Right. The entire reason.
Lost. Yeah.
And the one goes mad and later on, so completely ruins his relations with the North.
Yep. There's also like people try to figure out why did the Starks bend the knee so early and so like without like shedding any blood. And because the Starks already know about the White Walkers, and they already know about the coming winter, because like that's literally their house motto. When the king, or Aegon the Conqueror, explains that he's had this dream, that's when he's like, okay, yep, we need to band together. We should not fight.
Right. I want them to. It's a little bit of a shame if they don't try to give a little more detail to the Starks' history, though, because theirs is pretty crazy. Yeah,
well, it's fascinating. There's so many mysteries there, and the show just crapped on it.
Right. I was expecting more to be revealed in the actual series on that. And it's almost like, given the revelations about the prophecy in this, right, there's the question marks on if there's going to be more revealed about the Starks.
I think there probably will. Like I think that this show is a soft reboot.
You think it's a soft reboot to like close some of the gaps of unanswered questions?
Yeah, so I think they're going to touch on some of the things that they really screwed up on in the show, and I think that if this goes really well and people really respond to it, that they will just redo the show.
I feel like that's a hard sell, man.
Well, they're thinking about making a Jon Snow show. It's like, who the hell's going to watch that? Why would I care about Jon Snow just putzing around in the north?
I mean, I guess the question is are the White Walkers actually destroyed forever? That's the question. That's not answered, right?
That's the idea, though. That's the whole point of killing the Night King, is like it ended the whole thing.
But that's under the assumption that winter never came before.
But I guess it did, and they never explained
it did, and it's been stopped before, right?
Yeah, the Starks did it. Well, supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly. And then, yeah, so I guess there's a lot of question marks there, and probably the best way to answer that is if there is more of a relation between the Targaryen house knowing that prophecy and the Starks, and that's why you might not see much from the Starks, because they're just tasked with something up north.
Yeah, and another thing that doesn't make any sense. So in the books, that prophecy actually is like around the entire world. So like the Starks know it's like the winter is coming. The Targaryens have the Song of Ice and Fire dream. But then there's also in the east where they have like the shadow grass is slowly encroaching, and there's like creatures and things. They have like the towers that are protecting. So it's just like the wall there. And then I forget, is it Soros is supposed to be like Africa? That one. Think so. Also has its own.
Yeah, there's like there's an area over there that's, I forget where, is supposed to be like Africa. I'd have to look at a map again.
I'm playing The Witcher right now, so I keep thinking like Zurakakin or whatever they call it, and it's like, no, that's not the right lore.
Yeah, let me look up a map real quick of the universe. There is not actually a good...
I don't know if they have that mapped out in any of the maps. I think it's just like they mention it that it's there.
There's like a really big map that you can look up for the whole universe, but it's not really it's not very good at telling you where the Africa area is south of the Summer Sea, and it's not really talked about.
Oh yeah, so you have the Summer Isles, and then I think it's Soros. I don't think I'm making that up in my head.
No, the Summer Isles islands are the area with that moth, the butterfly killing disease, and those are just islands. Those would be like the Canary Islands, I think.
Oh, okay.
So they're off the coast of that region.
Okay.
And then you have this wide area that's like, you start getting into some odd places. But you never really experience them anywhere, right? Like, they're not talked about much, if ever.
No.
So it's
But my point still stands, is that the explanation given in the show that there's like this one dude turned by the Children of the Forest somehow with dragon glass, which is like what people stabbing each other all the time with dragon glass. Like, would we just be a bunch of Night Kings?
Well, they did magic on it and stabbed it into his heart.
It's so don't talk to me about it. And another thing is, like, that guy, so he's supposed to be thousands of years old, so he should be one of the first men. He should be like a freaking cave person, all burly with a huge beard, and he just looks like a normal British guy now.
I mean, the Brits are pretty barbaric, let's be honest.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, you know where my favorite region is on the map?
What?
The place that's supposed to be Iceland, that's just a whaling. They talk about it like 4 times in the entire book, but it's just funny every time they bring it up. Because they do describe them as like big hairy people.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting little bits. And also like what is that house that has a bear sigil?
The Mormon?
Mormon, yeah, House Mormon. Mormont?
Mormont, I can't, whatever.
Anyway,
however you read it.
Those people might be actually like were-bears, because they may actually like turn into bears.
With how hairy they are.
Yeah, well, not just that, like they literally could turn into bears. So like there's a lot in the books that I really wish would have shown.
Okay, Skagos. Can we is there a chance that Skagos is actually brought up in this? Because I forget what era it is, but doesn't Skagos have a civil war with the King of the North?
Which house is that again? Explain to me.
The Skagosi, the islands of Skagos off in the north, just along the wall. It's where Rickon went.
Yes.
In the books.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not technically official because it's only in the excerpts of the released chapters that you will hear that he's officially in Skagos.
He gets shot while running across the battlefield.
No, that does not happen. I refuse to believe that happens in the books. So, but I'm wondering if anything like that might get brought up, right?
I don't think in this first season. So I think this first season is going to be very just Targaryens, but they have such an opportunity right now to build in so much cool backstory to get people really hyped again for the main story, because like so much of the existence of the Targaryens and their motivations and the reasons why they want to hold on to power and also why they're in Westeros to begin with is the prophecy that we saw play out, and that playing out sucked. So they're going to have to really build that up again with the hope that there's going to be a better payoff.
What's the timeline that we're currently in? What is the date?
300 years before. No, I think this current story takes place only like 150 years before.
1 second, let me look it up.
The book says 300 years before, but I know that they started off at Aegon, so they can't be right.
Right. I'm trying to figure out what the date is in Westeros, because the date for the Skagosi rebellion is 309 AC. I don't remember what AC is.
After Conquest.
After Conquest. So, okay, then there's... Who's the current king? They all recycled the names. This is going to be impossible to look up.
It's taking place 200 years before the War of the Five Kings. I just looked it up. So it's 100 years approximately after the Conquest. So it would be another 100 years. No. Yeah, if it's 300 AC, then it would be another 100 years before that.
Right. Okay. So if they keep going in the timeline, technically we could get the Skagosi rebellion.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you bring this up because there's a bunch of time jumps in this. So we have time jump in the first episode. We have a time jump between...
Oh, you know what, though? That is actually a rebellion that involves an army of wildlings.
Ooh.
So theoretically, that could be in this series as an important time jump, because that is an army of wildlings trying to get around the wall.
Yeah.
So,
and like even like halfway through, they jump like 20 years forward in the very first season. So jumping another 100 years at some point, like eventually getting to 100 years is what I'm trying to say. Makes sense.
Right.
And also, they're already been a little bit loosey-goosey with the timing.
True.
So
you never know.
Yeah, they might end it a little
You never
bit.
know. But I feel like I think that might be the dark horse event that you might not be anticipating, because
cool.
I'm like, besides the, the conflict over the throne, that's the only other conflict that I can think of that's...
Well, I want them to explain the Night Queen and how like one of the Starks kept falling in love with them, and they had that weird bastard child.
When did that happen? What era did that happen? When was the Night Queen? Because that would be... Oh my gosh, that's the worst. That was the worst answer ever.
Oh, well...
She allegedly lived not long after the creation of the Night's Watch. Why can't it give me a date?
Anyway, that would be cool to at least reference.
Right. They're doing House of the Dragon.
That door that like is like weird and fleshy on the wall. Like, what the heck is going on with that?
I mean, okay, they're doing House of the Dragon right now. Odds are high that if it's really well received, they'll do a they'll do like the House of the North.
Oh yeah, House of the Wolves. I mean,
House of the
I would
Wolves
be so pumped about that. like that concept. That would be cool.
Right. That would have been
and
like
have them all intertwined together. That would be cool.
But I feel like it's at the moment. I'm actually a little bit. I feel like they need to give us answers about Valyria in this series.
Yeah.
I don't like if they don't give us answers about that, because I would be okay if they skip out on anything to do with like Skagos in the North, just because it's not about the dragon, right? But they have to tell us more about Valyria and what actually happened.
Agreed.
And then like they should definitely consider a House of the Wolves
that would be so
series.
Cool.
And then if this is well received, they start down this one and then they start down the House of the Wolves one. And then maybe they merge at some point.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
their stories
are so interconnected.
Right. But you have to give their like backstory first, and then they merge into like one.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be an interesting.
And there's so much history. Like, you literally could like make individual shows. Like, think about if this was just its own property. No, like most stories would only be focused on the Targaryens, focus on the Starks. Like, like most stories don't have this much lore that they could pack into it. So you really could do this. It would be possible.
Right. I want to know the background though on why the Targaryens like the hot, how they can handle that, just be burnt.
It's something to do with the.
It has to do with the dragons and the magic, right?
Yeah,
but
exactly, because they would sleep on the volcano, so they have to be something's there. Like they could warg in the dragons or something, and like that was their first link, maybe.
Right, the warg concept.
Yeah.
Which then you have the wargs in the north too, which is you never hear of wargs anywhere else.
Nope.
So I guess there's with the north though, like Winterfell, they needed to explain still the crypts.
And they needed to explain so much.
I mean, yes, I think that's the reason why. Okay, if we're honest, right? Like, I think that's the reason we're excited for this season so far, because it seems like it's actually giving answers to questions that were like blown off completely in the
and not because there aren't answers. It's because the showrunners were incompetent, and they also didn't read the stories.
In fairness, the books were not completed.
Yeah, but
so we don't even have answers.
They started blowing that stuff off in the very first season. Like, they cut out so much information.
True. Like the story arc of, well, they wanted to make it not obvious who Jon Snow's mother was, even though if you read the book, it was obvious.
Yes.
But no, it's like this one definitely seems like they want to like close off different like lore, and it's like the whole purpose of this series seems like it's a lore clarifier and answer giver. So it's like it looks very promising. I want it to be successful just because that means they'll expand into more lore.
Yes.
And get us the answers we actually want. And maybe Martin will have finished the books at some point.
And then, by the time he finishes it, that's like they'll be done with these offshoots, and then be able to like redo the show. Yes.
Yeah, right? Perfect. Because they'll need the alternative ending, but because it'll have been so long, they can't get the actors to do the alternative ending. So they'll have to remake it. And then they can include people like Lady Stoneheart and Rickon not getting murdered because he's going to be the king of the North when Jon Snow stays in King's Landing, obviously. So that's and then the Skagosi are actually going to get their day in the sun. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, they also,
you know how disappointing that is, right? That they're mentioned like 1,000 times at the Night's Watch, but no, like they're never shown. They're just teased, like ridiculous amounts of times. So it's like,
well, they even destroyed. What side of Westeros are they on?
East.
Yeah, so they even destroy the wall on that side, and they don't ever mention them. Like, that would be like prime time to have them involved.
Right. It's like it's one of those things where you're expecting, where is Jon Snow going to get his army from that he needs after everyone gets decimated and Stannis Baratheon is destroyed? Where's his army coming from?
Yeah.
He has wildlings. That's not enough. He has to have more soldiers.
Yep.
The North is divided. Like, he needed more soldiers. There's only one place to get that.
No, he just needed Gandalf to ride in on the sunbeams.
That's fair. But what did you think of the second episode? Because I know I've heard the complaint of people so far that the series is slow, and I think that it's actually very well done.
I think that it's building it up. You're establishing the motivation and the characters. Like, this is exactly what it's kind of a lore dump, but it's not exposition. Right. You really need this build up. That's something that the other show just desperately needed in the last 3 seasons.
That's true. It was like the second episode, I felt like, was not even just a lore dump. I thought it was the most brilliant staging of a massive conflict. Anyone who sees it as slow is just like
only watches Twitch.
They're not recognizing that they're building up for like the most epic of conflicts.
Yes.
And they're going to get like 3 episodes at some point that are just solid action. Like, I feel like it's just very short-sighted to say that it is not.
Well, they can't watch it in like 30-second clips, so that's why it's too slow for them. I saw that. I agree, man.
I can't grow that glorious of a beard, man. But I can always try.
Yeah, I mean, if
when No Shave November comes around, I'll try.
No Shave November, okay. I'll do the beard fun.
It'll be too ginger, man. I can't. Yeah, my facial hair is ginger, so.
Oh, now you're gonna take yourself completely off. I see.
Yeah. No, so it's like I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. Like that's. And like the first episode was not slow. You had that melee, which I thought was very well, very, very, very well shot to coincide with the birth and everything. Yeah. Also, okay, maybe it wasn't made apparent, but I'll tell the people who are complaining that like the forced birth, she was gonna die anyway with the baby. Like,
so
there's no saving the mother in that era. It's save the baby. Or mother and baby die because you can't get the baby out. Like, it's just not.
That's just how it went.
That's literally the only choice is, well, are we going to let both of them die or are we going to at least try to save one?
Mm-hmm. So, and you can tell that it wasn't an easy decision. And, it's still, like, I realize we're only in the second episode, but the king is still really messed up from it.
Right.
So he wasn't, like, gung-ho about it, No,
and the king of, the Lord of Hightower has totally abused that emotional state to basically get his daughter proposed to, which is kind of messed up. That's
another thing that they've changed a little bit is that Alicent is much more likable in the show and seems to be much more manipulated. Oh, she's also younger, so that's part of the reason.
Right.
She's more manipulated.
She has no agency, it feels like.
But in the book, she's not very likable. She's kind of a bitch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dude, they had magic. They should have just had the dragon like breathe on her or something. It would have been fine.
It's just one of those things too, though. Like the way it is, if a woman gets exhausted during childbirth in that era, it's done. Let alone the baby's in the wrong direction. So there was no hope in that scenario. So it's like, I did like the fact that the way they filmed clearly he's overly celebrating early. And it's one of those things where don't count your eggs before they hatch.
Literally.
Yeah. But the melee, man, what did you like? I kind of liked how you can tell that they've been at peace for so long that they're just like geared up at the slightest thing to just try to bash each other in. Like the fact that melee just turned into a bludgeoning fest and no guards tried to stop any of it. It's just like you literally just lost some noble family members from some major houses, but I guess they're probably just like the third sons and not important enough to get outraged. Because there's not even like a court scene or something where it's like, I demand compensation for my son getting his face bashed in. None of that. And like I swear one of them had a Stark sigil
I'm gonna have to go
on,
back
and
and rewatch it and
he
look for that.
got smashed in the face. I don't know if maybe there's another thing that looks like a Stark symbol, but I can't think of a house at this time that has one similar. It was clearly like a direwolf style, like that, scaled direwolf look.
Okay.
So
interesting.
But yeah,
how do you feel about Daemon getting his butt kicked?
I mean, he deserved it for how much of a douche he was with the
I guess as far as
the horse,
do you think that's going to set up an interesting dynamic between him and the other character?
Right. I mean, clearly it's going to, because he's a Kingsguard now. Do they have... Okay, Phantom Falsetto just said, do they have a brown wedding planned? Everyone dying of dysentery. I don't think dragons can die of dysentery. I don't think they can die with that magic. Yeah.
Imagine how terrible that would be, though. Dragons are gigantic. King's Landing would just be covered.
Especially if they're flying all the time.
Flying? Oh no.
Yeah. It's like pigeons, just giant. That's actually a legit question. Do the dragons ever have to go, like, while they're flying? Because you feel like I feel like that's the unspoken concept here of what happens to King's Landing. Could you imagine you're walking down the street and instead of pigeon poo, you just get a big old dragon drop,
and it just like covers everything on the street.
But think of the force from that height. Like, someone on their gravestone has killed by dragon poop. Like, there has to be the one, just just look at the skull of that one dragon, right?
Yeah.
That's down in the basement crypts, right? That thing's huge. It's like dropping a minivan. Like, you're not surviving that.
Oh man.
Hey, if you're flying over a farmer's field, though, they'd be like, blessings from the Targaryens just fell.
You're welcome.
It's going to have the biggest pumpkins ever grown right here.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, it's like, I have to say I do like it. It's nice because, as you said earlier, it's obvious the cast loves the script. The showrunners are excited. They're like actually excited to tell the story. You can have you been watching the after thing where they go in depth? So like they explain a lot of good stuff in there and like what their filming style is and what they're trying to convey. And it's like, I don't know, there's like a really good positive energy about it. Whereas
instead of Dave and Dan is just like, yeah, we want to
go do Star Wars instead.
Exactly. We've been, there's been no buildup for Danny going evil, but we decided to do it in 10 seconds.
It's like, obviously this first episode is us a little bit jaded still from the... Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like, it's been good viewing, I have to say. I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's getting me excited again. And I was worried because, especially the last couple episodes, really kind of ruined Game of Thrones for me for a while. Like, I didn't even want to go back and reread the books or anything. And I was worried that I would just hate this show because of its association. But no, so far I'm really enjoying it. So
right, and it's like, I'll be honest, I don't think I can. If I rewatch the original series, I don't think I can watch season 8. At least not seriously. I have to hate watch it.
Really, end it when John gets resurrected, and then that's it.
Because Battle of the Bastards happens in the season before that, right?
Season 7.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yeah, I think.
Or was that 6?
No, I think it was
7. It was 7. It had to be 7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all the good conflicts happened prior to. You have the conflict with the Night King,
which was dumb, and that ruins everything because it's so stupid. It does not fulfill the prophecy. Arya somehow outmaneuvers all of them.
And I don't believe she does. Do you believe in the book she's actually going to be the one to kill him?
No, absolutely not. No, Dan and Dave said that they're like, I know it'd be really subvert expectations to have Arya do this.
Oh, that's right. They basically no one's going to expect it because it's stupid. So let's do it.
The thing is, you have this freaking prophecy that you've been building up. So at least have a twist on that. Not just have, I'm going to have this random character who suddenly is immortal and can kill everybody after like a month of training in the show.
Changes her face whenever she wants now.
It wasn't even cool. Like she'd like put on a White Walker's face or something. That would have been cool. But no.
I mean, it's not subverting expectations. It's just subversive to the entire story arc. That is, you have to read it for context. So anyone who.
So he was talking about lighting the dumps on fire and having them fall from the sky.
Yep. But he also said California gender reveals have nothing on dragon droppings.
Yes.
But no, it's like they completely bastardized the Stark history and like the lore that is in the crypts and the lore that is everything, right? Because like if you read the books, you're getting all of these different stories. You got the Night King with his Night Queen. You got the Skate Gosi and the time that they revolted. You got the you got the crypts. You got the bard who was probably from beyond the wall, who was swooning all over the Stark daughter. You had the fact that he hid that there was things hiding in the crypts.
Yep, and there's a broken down section that it could be leading to something else important.
Right, and there's like the concept that maybe that's even connected to tunnels that go beyond the wall even. Like there's all sorts of elements of, and then there's the legend about the dragon that heats the what is it? The bath there. They have the hot spring with their weird tree.
Yeah,
there's all sorts of legends with what causes the heat for that pool.
Oh, okay.
Which also, now that you think about it, the hot spring goes back to the same concept of the volcanoes having magic for the Targaryens. So
but the were trees are also kind of like stupid. And then they have the green dreams are never explained. They never like bring in the Crannig men. They have one.
Oh yeah. The fact that let's be honest, Robb Stark names Jon Snow his heir.
Yeah.
Can we just point out that those messages never made it anywhere? And that's just
did they even mention it in the show?
No, not once.
So he is named heir. Yeah.
Yeah, and like so that's out there, and I forget which families were sent with that information, but they were ones that would have been allied with Jon Snow at the time.
And I forget who the guy's name is, but one of the Krennic men that fought with Ned Stark and would have known that Jon Snow was.
Oh, Reed.
Yeah. What was his first name though? Reed was the last name.
It's not. Is it Henry?
I don't remember. I'm not gonna
remember. But he was at the tower, so he would know that Jon Snow is a Targaryen.
Yes. So it would be the fact that he's not even in the show. He would have added so much legitimacy.
The fact that they sent the information about the Jon Snow being the heir to Winterfell through that area with them. That whole story arc is just completely ignored. And then Stannis just randomly shows up.
Stannis sucks so bad in the show.
That too. He's actually likable in the books.
Yeah, he's very likable in the books.
Because he seems more honorable.
Even Daenerys is a little bit more likable in the books.
I'll fight you on that.
I like her more simply because you can hear her thoughts and you can kind of see that she has a struggle. Whereas in the show, she's like, I'm woman, hear me roar. And then she just destroys a bunch of cities.
She struggles with feeling like she has to help people.
Yes.
And she never learns the lessons, though, of what happens when she does certain things to help people. At least not yet.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, given that he's written 5 books. She hasn't learned a single lesson from her actions. I'm just saying, like, how she basically turned the one city with the slavers into a butchering field of ex-slaves just brutalizing each other. Like, I don't know what to tell you, but she didn't help that city.
No. But again, at the very least, and also she's really young in the book. She's only like 13, so that gives you like a little bit more context to like why she's
so is
doing this.
Jon Snow, and
they're
he
all
never butchers anybody. So
they're all super young. It's true.
And Robb Stark is about that age too, and
Robb Stark is only like 9 or something, isn't he? Like, isn't he
no,
like crazy young?
He's still like 13. Him and Jon Snow are about the same age.
Okay.
That's
his story arc is so sad. Oh my gosh, because he ends up sleeping with his like nurse, and because she's like nursing him back to health. And you can imagine like as a teenage boy, it's like,
you mean every World War II story arc of the injured soldier ever told? Yes.
Okay, so speaking of like, you know, borrowing stories from everything else, have you ever read the Witcher books?
The Witcher books? No.
Game of Thrones is like steals so many story beats from that story.
Really?
I don't know if it's a coincidence or like that's based off Polish folklore, and I know that Martin like incorporates folklore from a lot of different places, so maybe that's just a coincidence. But like even in the books or in the Witcher books, winter is coming. That's like the entire backstory.
Okay, in fairness, I'll give fairness here.
Okay.
Winter is the worst thing for the entire medieval era.
Yeah.
Right.
But these books are not based like they're in that kind of setting, but you could really make it anything because like we are no longer in that era.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that back then, like if you're trying to pick something, right, and it's just that type of thing, right? Winter is the big killer. It kills everything in nature that is your like food sources outside of animals. Like you're not able to grow anything. So there's a lot of like myth and legend about the killer that is winter. And you'll freeze to death if you don't have heat.
Yep. Man, answering his thing about the people not having genitals. There's actually a book reason for that, so they wouldn't rape. I realized I didn't write it, and I said it, so whatever.
Yes. The Unsullied were mutilated.
Literally, it's like they're unsullied. That's the point. Yeah. They're like not sullying themselves because they
don't have the incentives to be Viking raiders. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I think we can look to wrap this up then. Yeah. I guess because we've gone back and forth. We've talked about the new ones, and then I think in future episodes we'll be a little bit more focused on the new episodes that just dropped. But
if I remember correctly, this is Daemon, by the way. Hold on, try to get it so it's actually lined up. This guy, can you see him?
Yeah. The tall badass.
Yeah, it looks just like the actor. It's like they managed to do that. There's one image of him.
Yeah. So he's, you know, it's. Oh, what did you think before we stop too? What did you think of the Kingsguard? I'm biased here because I actually really like the one actor.
Mm-hmm.
That is currently like the head guy.
Yeah.
So, because he's, what is it? Is it Highlander or something? I forget. He's one of the Scottish guys in there. So he's a decent actor for like the time period type of roles. So.
Okay. I'll let you know in a later episode.
In a later episode, they seem more confident.
So we'll see.
General happiness.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say they were all pretty well cast so far. But
agreed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to be reviewing these episodes like the day after from now on. So,
yes,
our schedule just prevented us.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in like so late. Everyone and their grandmother have already reviewed these episodes.
Yep. Yeah. And then we also planned on doing the Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. So that first episode comes out this Friday. We haven't decided on, are we just going to combine that with this review or
we'll see.
Well, we have to determine that still. So, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to the next episode. That's all I can say. It's definitely worth watching, especially if you're still salty like we are about how the first series ended, just without any build up to that at all. and it looks like they're going to go to correct our faith in the series, in in the universe more than anything. But yeah, would you add anything, Chris? I mean,
Chris might have some.
Chris is in the Chris. Yeah, you're in the chat, Chris. Are you going to finally watch or read any of this?
I don't have any final thoughts other than that I'm enjoying it so far. Going into this, when they first announced that they were making a prequel show, I was like, this is gonna be trash. I hate everything about Game of Thrones. And then I watched the first episode. I was like, oh crap, I love this.
I'll be honest. When I first heard the news, my thought process is, you already ruined the original series, you money grubbing whores. That's why are you doing this? And it's just like, where's the context for this series going to come from? And it's just like, they're just literally using the history book and Martin's consultation, and it seems to be working pretty well for them. So it's better than them just being like, we're going to ignore Martin and just finish this quickly.
Even though HBO offered to pay for more seasons.
Yeah,
we're just going to double their salary.
Short. Yeah, we're just going to purposely cut the most successful TV series short because we want to go write a trilogy of Star Wars that is probably not getting written anymore. So, it isn't. It got canceled because they did such a trash job with.
Ironic.
So they basically screwed themselves out of their next 2 gigs because they couldn't get Star Wars, and they definitely were not chosen for this. So.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's overwhelmingly positive for me so far. I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of compare and contrast how this compares to the Lord of the Rings series for its impact on like the overall universe and fidelity.
Yeah, well, I'm already thinking that this one, although they have some liberties, seems to be getting still closer to the lore that Martin has established. Whereas like the promos and what they've talked about the Lord of the Rings, it seems that they're being way looser with that. So we'll have to see. Right.
You can tell that, like we've mentioned before, you can tell that the showrunners for this House of the Dragon are fans. I think that's the big thing, right? You can tell. And they don't want to like traverse too far away. They're trying to keep it, because it's like, why do you need to deviate so much? You don't, because Game of Thrones has all the brutality, all the sex appeal, all the whatever the heck you want it to be, right? And you can paint any facade that you want with actual things. You don't need to insert things. And I think it probably helps too that it's like loose timelines with like personalities, right? Like they can fill the gaps in pretty well. They just have to make sure that the character vibes with what the historical actions are. And right now, like, I can't say enough that they casted Damon as like the perfect person. Like the perfect actor for like the cold stare, the calculating stare, the I don't give a fuck stare. They like, he has every single.
That was his, you know, when he did the casting call, he just like, look at me, and they just like.
Right. He just has the perfect look on his face for whatever the occasion is, and it's just like, one, you should be the most paid actor on the cast. Like, please. So, but yeah. So, and Chris, since you're in the chat, we expect you to participate in the Lord of the Rings portions in the future.
Agreed.
Since you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, you have no excuse.
All right. So, you want to sign us off?
All right, and thank you guys for joining this live stream. Hopefully they won't be as long-winded in the future. We just had a lot of thoughts.
And it's 2 episodes.
It is 2 episodes too, so they're going to be more timely in the future, so that we're not like the latest kids to the party and it's already closing time. So we showed up for the last song.
Not even. It's already locked. We're just pounding on the door right
now. The door got locked, yeah. So, well, I'm Andrew. This has been the CHRILLCAST, and this has been the CHRILLCAST. I know. This has been the CHRILLCAST. Doing something different with a TV series review, mainly because we're just huge fans of these shows. Yeah, so
we're mega nerds, so
so thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks.
Next time we'll see you next time.